my favorite part is being able to, not only capture everything, especially on a wedding day, which is, the most important day of a lot of people, the most important day of their lives, but telling it in a cinematic way.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Lively Charleston Podcast. Our goal with this show is to interact and tell the stories of the amazing people, places, and businesses that make Charleston the best city in the world.
If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
And check us out on Instagram and Facebook, where we post content regularly throughout the week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Lively Charleston Podcast. We have a very fun guest here today. I'm excited to chat with this young man and entrepreneur who has been in Charleston for just 3 years, but has already made his mark, and is the founder of Unveiled Visuals, specializing in creating wedding films with a focus on telling the stories of the couples that hire him and creating a film that celebrates their love. Kyle, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we have a lot to talk about. You've kickstarted your entrepreneurial journey, if you will, and you've already had a tremendous amount of success. So we're going to get into all that, but let's take it back a little bit to kind of what led you to where you are, how you wound up here in Charleston doing what you're doing. Maybe let's take it back to where it all started, your childhood, just kind of where you grew up, how you grew up, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. I grew up in Colorado, and I guess the very first thing that led to, my interest in videography and films was just constantly watching movies when I was growing up. And I really just took an interest in, how films were created and the stories that were being told. That led me to getting my first camera freshman year of high school. And from then on, I just was obsessed with just constantly making short films with my family, my friends. That's all I did on the weekends. I took film class in high school.
Nice.
And all that led...
What kind of camera was it?
It was a...
Freshman year, what year was that?
It was a 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a Panasonic it's a Panasonic G7.
Okay.
So it was...
I don't really know what that means, but cameras were pretty nice in 2016 already, right? Like they were getting there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was wasn't anything fancy, but it recorded in 4K.
Okay.
And that's kind of all I needed at the time.
So it's nicer than the camera I had freshman year, where it was like, I went to Best Buy, it was the camcorder, and you like slide your hand up the side of it, and the screen folds out, and
exactly,
and the little thing slides up in there. So it's nicer than that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think it probably was. Yeah, and I was in film class, for all 4 years of high school.
Oh wow!
And then, I never knew that wedding videography was a career. That wasn't something that was on my radar. Like, I always dreamed of probably being a director, maybe a cinematographer on a TV show, in TV or film. And then after high school, I decided to move out here to Charleston, and I got my first wedding gig.
What made you move to Charleston?
So I met my girlfriend in high school. I was a junior, she was a sophomore, and we met out in Colorado, and she had moved out here to Charleston. Her family, they'd gotten a new job out here.
Okay.
So she moved, we did a year long distance, and then I kind of just made the decision to, I wanted to pursue film, but I also wanted to be with her. And so it was just kind of a leap of faith of, moving out here, following my dreams, but also, making it easier on our relationship.
Sure. Well, and there's film opportunities out here in Charleston too, besides the wedding industry. There's, there's actually a lot of people don't know, but there's a lot going on here in Charleston in the film industry.
Definitely.
I don't know how that compares to Denver. Is there much going on there in the industry?
I think it is. I don't know too much about the market, but I know that there's a lot of opportunities, just, more shows and movies being filmed there.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, if I had stayed there, would I have, gone down this path?
Right.
Or if it'd be something else. So
Yeah, you tend to kind of go where the opportunities are, or if you stay where you are, then whatever opportunities are available.
Exactly.
You have to kind of work with what you have. I forget sometimes you're from Colorado. What part of Denver did you live in?
Highlands Ranch.
Okay. All right. So I lived in Littleton for a few years when I was out there. I grew up in Colorado Springs and then moved to Denver once I was old enough to live on my own there. So I met a couple of Midwest boys right here on the podcast today.
Yeah.
So so you said you'd always dreamed of being maybe a director or a cinematographer or something in the film industry, but you knew you wanted to be doing something with the camera in some capacity.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I was always really shy growing up, super introverted, and I never really put myself out there. So I think having a creative outlet to make short films and, I always wrote short stories as well. So I just really always had a creative spark.
Yeah.
That led me down this path.
You know what's really cool is I was talking with our videographer for Lively Charleston for the team here, and we also have a marketing director. She's our in-house graphic designer, and I sometimes feel, I don't want to say jealous, but what I'll say is I think it's so cool. And I always look forward to when they finish a project and send it over for approval or for review or whatever the case may be, because they get to bring things to life, right? So like we'll put things on a whiteboard and here's kind of the idea and here's what we're thinking kind of, but it doesn't exist yet. It doesn't have life. And they bring it to life, right? And that's what you get to do, as a creator with the camera is, you take a concept and then you give it life. You make it into a real thing. I think that's so neat.
Right. Yeah. I think you said it perfectly. That's my favorite part, is being able to, not only capture everything, especially on a wedding day, which is, the most important day for a lot of people, the most important day of their lives, but telling it in a cinematic way and telling their story rather than just recording it. I think there's a difference.
100%. And there's something to be said too about there's a visionary component to it, that in order to do this job well, that you have to have, right? And what I mean by that is, like, I'll see something that I like. I don't necessarily know how to turn something into, like, give it that life, but I can point at something and say, I like that. Can we do it like that, right? Or I can point at something else and say, let's do it that way. Same thing with, like, say, interior design. You give me an empty room, I have no idea what to do with it. But I can point at one that I like and say, let's do that, right? Or something similar. And so, but you kind of are creating something from scratch. You're combining ideas or other experiences you've had, and you have this thing almost like a musical composer kind of, right? You have this concept, and then you put it together in your brain first, and then in the video second.
For sure. Yeah, I think that was the whole process, was, all these components of filmmaking with the music and the cinematography and editing and the sound design. And it took me a long time to get good at even one component. And,
right.
And then putting all of it together and just trying to master each one to the best of my ability to create these films that that couples have for the rest of their lives
forever. So let's talk about that. You founded your company, Unveiled Visuals, and it's been a little over a year. Is that right?
Yes, last June.
Gotcha.
Was when I started. So.
Gotcha. Okay, and you got off to an amazing start. Let's talk about that first year in business. What that's been like.
It was truly like. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it was a dream come true. I had just really always feared that I'd be working a job that I didn't enjoy. And, filmmaking is one of those careers that you don't necessarily need school to be successful. Right. But I did decide to go to film school for a couple years. And I think the most valuable thing I learned there was that I didn't want to go into film and TV. Surprisingly enough.
Interesting. What led you to that conclusion?
I think just realizing working really long days on set, for weeks on end, and also just kind of working your way up the ladder was going to be just a really tough climb. And I love working with a team, but I think I've always worked better alone. And wedding videography really gave me that opportunity to, work by myself. And yeah, after those couple of years of film school, I just realized, like, wow, this is, I can go down this.
That wasn't it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what it is, is figuring out, even if you don't have all the answers, if you can start checking off the things that you aren't the answer, it still moves you in the right direction.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And so funny story, my parents really wanted me to go to a 4-year school. I applied, to...
Parents always do. Yeah.
Exactly.
They mean well.
It's one of those stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wanted me to go to a 4-year school, and I was, pretty, I was disappointed, but I understood where they were coming from. They didn't want me to be a starving artist.
Sure.
And struggling to find clients. And I had only filmed, several weddings up to that point, but none of them had been weddings I booked on my own.
Gotcha.
So that was the apprehension on their end, was that I wasn't going to be able to book my own clients. So I wrote them a 3-page essay.
Your parents, you wrote them an essay?
Yes. Okay. I wrote them an essay persuading them to let me drop out of school and pursue wedding videography and start my own thing. So that was last June when I, just kind of took that chance, and we talked for hours, and they said, we'll let you do this.
Now, when you say were you 18 or older at this point?
I was 19.
So when you say do you mean, because obviously at that point legally you can do whatever you want. Was there a support component where you're saying, will you support me in doing this and assist me in doing this? Is that really what you were asking for?
Yeah, I have always been, I always cared about what others thought of me.
Sure.
And I think that's, especially my parents, I wanted my family support. I wanted to feel like I wasn't alone in this. I didn't want to make some brash, irresponsible.
And we want to make them proud.
Exactly. Yeah. Most importantly, I wanted to make them proud. So asking for their support was really important to me.
Yeah.
In doing that. And I basically asked if, instead of, helping fund my education towards college, if they would help me fund my education towards wedding filmmaking and a mentorship program in which I'd be able to learn, all components of wedding filmmaking, specifically tailored, to what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Still in education, right?
Exactly.
A little bit of a different route.
Exactly.
Do me a favor, pull your mic just a little bit closer to you. Yeah, there you go. I love it. I love that you wrote an essay, and it sounds like you put a lot of thought into, here's a path, here's a couple of the initial lead dominoes that I need to set up and knock down in order to do this. What if they'd said no? What if they said, do what you want to do, but we still firmly believe this is the path, but we love you either way? Would you have still done it?
I think that's actually what happened.
Really?
Was that they said, do what you want, we will support you, but we still believe that you should go to 4-year school. So that was good enough for me, just knowing that, hey, I can, I still have a chance to do this.
Yeah.
My whole thing was I just didn't want to run a business and be going to school at the same time. I wanted to focus all of my energy on the business, and I know plenty of people who've been able to do both. For me, I just didn't want to be caught up in doing schoolwork while also trying to start a business. And I think ultimately it really helped because going back to, that first year, I was able to just focus on building my portfolio, filming weddings that, they were kind of last minute couples, like not looking for a videographer, but then when I delivered the product, they were so impressed and couldn't believe just how, you know, sorry, trying to think of the words. They were just impressed.
Just how well
with the
you
final
captured
product. Exactly
their story. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, and that's the best way to grow your business too. Is before you can do anything. If you don't have a great product or a great service, you're gonna have a hard time growing because you're not gonna get the word of mouth. You're not gonna get the referrals of, you know, people telling their friends. That's the best way to grow your business because it doesn't cost you anything, right?
Exactly.
But to your parents' point, you know, I understand where when you step out into being a business owner yourself, you forfeit the right to only focus on your craft, right? Like you now have to be a salesperson, right? You have to market yourself, right? You have to get the client somehow, somewhere. You know, now you're running a P&L. Now you're paying attention to the financials, and it adds a whole nother layer besides the skills that you've already acquired within, you know, the process of creating the film.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. And the months leading up to that decision were the hardest because I was, you know, of the mindset that I'm going to have to go to school. I'm going to have to just make it through. You know, I can work on this on the side. And then it wasn't until a week before orientation when I made that decision. I was like, I'm going to write this essay in one night. I'm going to jump on a FaceTime call with them. And because, it was a tough time because I was just trying to get my hands on anything I could.
Right.
With the first job I applied for, funny enough, was Lively Charleston and the videographer position. And it's just a funny time to think about.
What year was that?
2020.
2020. And so were you already in Charleston at the time?
I was.
Or you had just moved, right?
I had just moved. I was about a month out from moving.
That's right.
So I remember talking to you for the first time, and I was like, yeah, I got my, you know, it's going to be great. It's going to be my big break. I already have a job lined up in Charleston, and it's just funny where life takes you.
How it kind of leads. And then what ended up, I don't even remember. We'd been working with someone. Why did we tell you that we didn't move forward? Do you remember?
I think at the time I didn't have enough experience.
Is that what it was?
Was the biggest reason.
Okay.
And you had already had, you know, some people that you had worked with.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, it worked out in the end for everybody. Yeah, you know, I didn't want to go into something that I didn't feel confident in.
Sure.
And looking back, you know, I didn't feel like I was capable at the time.
And what did that? But you're still out there. You're still out there trying to make things happen. You know, and you're shooting your shot, and you're figuring out a way to get forward momentum on what you're trying to do. And what did you end up doing instead when you first moved to Charleston, film wise?
Yeah, very first thing I did was show my instructor my reel, and I had a 2-minute demo reel just of my short films that I made at home, and nothing impressive at all, but it did impress him, you know, enough that he gave me that first gig, you know, as to shoot that wedding. And, you know, I kind of attribute everything that's happened since then to that moment where I just, first day of class, you know, I had never put myself out there before, always sat in the back of the classroom, but I just really made it a point to, if I want this to happen, I'm going to have to be brave enough to show my work.
Yeah.
So I showed him that reel. I was sweating.
That's big because you're basically subjecting yourself. You're asking your work to get judged constantly. And to a degree, we all are anyways, but this is like, it's a little, I think it's, maybe you can speak to this, but for creators, it's a little different because there's some soul and there's some passion into it. And you're just saying, all right, world, tell me what you think, right?
For sure. I think that's the toughest part for me.
Yeah.
Is, you know, I've always just been nervous to showcase my work, no matter how good or bad I thought it was.
Right.
So when I had his approval and he came back to me the next day and said, this woman's looking for a wedding videographer, do you want to take it? And that just catapulted me into the world of wedding filmmaking. Never had seen a wedding video before. So the next 2 weeks I studied, I watched so many wedding films, tried to learn everything I could about it. And yeah, to what you said, that's the toughest part for me, is just being confident in myself to create something and then showcase it, not only to the couple, but, showing it to other people and asking for criticism. And yeah, I think that's the toughest part for any filmmaker.
And so now you've been in business a little over a year. How many videos have you made to date up to this point now?
I just filmed my 75th wedding.
Wow.
In the last 3 years.
Wow.
So,
oh, you are moving.
I was moving.
You are busy.
It was, some weekends filming 2, 3 weddings per weekend. And some of them just, they weren't paid. Some of them I was just filming for free because I love doing it. And I've always been focused on providing the value to couples.
Just to be clear, you don't do free weddings anymore, right?
Not anymore.
Those days are behind you.
Yes, yes.
That's good. That's a good thing.
In year 3 of filming weddings, I'm no longer doing them for free.
That's how it's supposed to work. Good. And you don't just film in Charleston, right? You're now starting to travel and do remote gigs as well?
Right. I think I have filmed more weddings out of Charleston or out of South Carolina this year than I have in South Carolina.
So the word's getting out.
Yeah. I think, I've been fortunate enough to travel to Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, just in the last several months.
Cool. Very cool.
So
what should someone expect? If a couple is hiring you and, in that initial experience, what should they expect when they're working with you?
I think everyone can expect just a really unique experience, vendor experience from the very start. And I think I make it known that I am there for them, from the beginning, the very start of the process to the end, from that initial consultation and finding out, their vision for a film and kind of ensuring that we're a good fit. And then to, delivering the final product, and when they're watching it for the very first time, I want that experience to be super memorable and magical, where they're reliving their wedding day and being able to relive it over and over again.
I love it. And it's such a meaningful day, in couples' lives. I'm recently engaged, and so, I know that we're getting more and more excited, as the days go by, and it's still a ways off, but just thinking about that day and being with all our favorite people, and how you still can't be everywhere at once, right? And so what you really have the ability to do is tell the story of the day, but also capture the different angles that, that the bride and groom don't get to see because they're busy, and, from what I hear, the whole day's a blur anyways.
Right. I like to stress all the time that a wedding film, investing in a wedding film, makes your investment in the rest of the day more worthwhile, because photos and video is going to be the only lasting things after that day, so everything that you invest in, you want captured in the best way possible. And our whole mission is just to not only capture everything that's going on, but like I mentioned earlier, telling it in a cinematic way. So I've leaned really heavily into the story-driven aspects, finding the conflict in stories, because obviously, wedding films are most of the time they can be very cliche in the sense that every video is the same.
Yep,
It's
I know
going to
you're
be the
talking about.
start of the day to the end of the day. So we try to find the conflict in stories to tell them, make it more interesting, tell the stories of who the couples are and how they got to this day, not just the wedding day itself.
Yeah, I love that. If people want to if they want to learn more about you or Unveiled Visuals or see some examples of your work, where should they go?
I'd say we're most active on our Instagram at Unveiled Visuals, and that's kind of the best way to see a glimpse of our work. And then our website, unveiledvisuals.com, is also a great way to see our full-length films, which are between 5 and 10 minutes long.
Gotcha. Okay. And can they just DM you direct from Instagram if they have questions or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Our inbox is open. We also text, email, and inquiries through our contact form on our website as well.
Beautiful. Kyle, this has been fun. We've got a couple. If you're up for it, we're going to wrap with our final 2 questions, which we ask all of our guests. But before we get to that, we have a new segment here. If you're up for it, we call it the rapid fire segment, where I'm going to ask you a few questions and you just have to answer them as fast as you can.
All right.
Sound good?
Yeah.
You up for it? All right. Now that I know a little bit about you, I'm curious to see what some of these answers are.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So we're gonna stick in your lane, staying with movies and cinema and that sort of thing. Okay. All right. So number 1, what's your favorite movie of all time?
I'm gonna say Parasite.
Parasite. I haven't seen this one.
It won the Oscar for Best Picture back in 2019. I want to say.
I've heard of it. Who's the actor, actress?
It's a Korean film, so I couldn't name you any of
Okay,
the
all right,
actors.
fair
but
enough.
It won Best Picture. I don't know, a few years back.
Beautiful. All right. You had a dilemma in your head there. Was there another one you were debating?
I love The Shining as well.
Ah, okay.
That's one of my favorites.
Stephen King movie, right?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Classic.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay. Favorite director of all time?
Quentin Tarantino.
Nice. Same. Man, he's that guy. Legend. He's only got one left in his bag.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yes, I did hear. So
What an epic way to just keep everyone on the edge of their seats. You know what I mean?
his 9th film. Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Crazy. Okay. If you were directing an action movie, who would you cast as your hero?
Keanu Reeves.
Nice. All right. I've heard good things about him, that he's like one of the best actors to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Sure.
Okay. If someone made a story about your life, which actor would be cast as you?
I can't think of any actors that look like me, or even
Who
never thought about that.
or anybody that you would want just because you appreciate their work, you think they do a good job?
I'd say Henry Golding. He was in Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay. Yeah.
The movie with Anna Kendrick came out a few years ago.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think I know what you're talking about.
A Simple Favor.
Okay.
Yeah, with Anna Kendrick, and he. I
Nice.
don't know. I think he kind of looks like me. I don't know.
Nice.
Might be able to play me.
I'll ask some of my buddies, that question sometimes when we're just hanging out. Like, if someone was playing you in a movie, who would it be?
Right.
They always say like Brad Pitt. I'm like, come
Yeah,
on,
for
come on,
sure.
bro. But whatever. We all have our. All right. Here we go. Next question. If you put yourself into a movie, what type of role would you give yourself?
Definitely like an extra or a background character. Like I've never wanted to be in the spotlight. So
Would you ever do like a Quentin Tarantino sort of thing and make a little cameo?
Yeah. No, I think that'd be fun. I'd probably be behind the camera and then make a cameo.
Yeah. One little appearance there.
Yeah.
You think you'd be nervous? Like, what if you were It was a cameo. Keanu Reeves is in the movie. You're making a cameo. Like, would you be nervous to be on set with Keanu?
Yeah, for sure.
How could you not?
Yeah.
How could you not? Right?
That's why I stayed behind the camera. I much prefer to be behind it than in front of it. So.
Amen. All right. Dream wedding client.
I think I've already worked with a few clients that like I feel like are my dream clients. Yeah. I'd love to film more weddings outside of the country, but the weddings I've been able to film this year and some, beautiful venues and luxury weddings have just been, that's my dream come true is being able to be there, but also work with such amazing people who share the same vision as I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, keep doing what you're doing. The word's getting out, so the days are coming. Those days are definitely coming.
Thank you.
All right, last one. When you get married one day, who do you trust right now to shoot your video?
There are so many filmmakers that I look up to and aspire to be, and I'd like to think that I'm not even, I haven't reached my potential as a filmmaker.
That's a good thing.
So I feel like I'm constantly improving, and I'm looking up to those. So there's a handful of people that I would definitely trust. And
tough decision.
Yeah. Very, very tough.
All right. Very good. And then would you just have them shoot it, and then would you let them edit it, or would you say, give me the files and I'll edit it?
I think I'll have them edit it. I don't think I'd want to scroll through that much footage of myself.
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable with somebody else doing it.
All right, fair enough. All right, that concludes our rapid fire segment here. Thank you for playing the game,
awesome,
bro.
Thanks.
All right, last couple questions. If you could go back in time to when you first started your business, let's say a year and a half ago, and give yourself a piece of advice, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
I'd probably tell myself the same thing that I need to tell myself every day, is to not worry about what other people think. And that's easier said than done, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'd say that is, the main thing that I wish I had believed earlier and when I was younger, and also something I need to tell myself now because there's so many expectations, and I'm the hardest on myself when it comes to my work. So I think just taking a step back and realizing that, my couples are the forefront of what I do, and I just want to continue to improve and deliver films that leave a lasting impact.
Yeah. Does that get easier for you the more you have really, really, really thrilled clients?
You'd think it would, but surprisingly, it doesn't. I feel like I still am super critical of my work, even after I get a raving review, or people are sharing it on social media and saying best wedding film I've ever seen, and it makes me feel good for a moment, and then I watch it again and again and again, and I think that's kind of the trap I fall into.
You can probably see flaws that the untrained eye can't see.
For sure.
Is that what's happening?
That's what I've been told, is that, there are things that I'm going to notice that nobody else will.
Right.
So.
Right. I guess that's the case with any artist, right? A musician feels that way after a set, even though the crowd went nuts, had the best time ever, thought it was amazing, but they know.
For sure. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Final question, man. If you could give one piece of advice, let's say somebody's watching this, they see you're a pretty young guy, you're 21 years old?
Yes.
Right. So you're 21, you've been in business for a year, already experienced a lot of success early on, continuing to grow, and they're inspired. Maybe they're thinking about, they want to take a risk as well. What advice would you give them? Right. It could be scary, right? It was scary for you, scary for me. It's scary to take that chance. So what advice would you give to someone?
Just stay true to yourself, and, work hard, work as hard as you can to, it sounds cliche, but at the end of the day, it really is the truth. it's, it's not some crazy success story that I went through. It was just kind of a little bit of faith in myself as somebody who never really had much self-confidence, and never really believed in myself. And I just had enough confidence to make that decision to pursue my dream of being a filmmaker. And because I believed at the end of the day I was going to be happiest doing what I loved. And obviously when you're doing something that you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
So that's the stage where I'm at right now. Is I feel like I don't have to work because I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy what I do. So,
Amen. If I mean, that's it. You said it. That's the formula. If you can enjoy what it is, then it just won't feel like work. And the parts that do feel like work, you can push through them because in the grand scheme of things, you're doing what you love.
Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't have said it better,
man.
So,
dude,
awesome.
Kyle, this has been awesome, man. Thank you for coming to hang out with me, have a conversation. Tell everyone here in Charleston a little bit more about what you do. Y'all go out, check out Unveiled Visuals. If you're getting married or you know someone getting married and they want to have a cinematic masterpiece to look back at and remember their special day forever, then give Kyle a shout. Kyle, thanks, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, bro.
Hey y'all, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like or follow or subscribe, whatever platform you're on, just hit the button to make sure you don't miss any future episodes.
Yep, and please help us grow the channel by sharing it with someone else who might enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.